Hey, I'm Jake, and this is a hip opening sequence. Come onto your mat. You can start in tabletop. Line yourself up with your wrists straight across your mat. Okay, and your wrists under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Tuck your toes under today, and inhale, arch your back, look forward. Exhale, round your spine, look towards your navel. And a couple times like that. And with your next inhale, find a neutral spine and pelvis and step back for your down dog. Hey, down dog. Just gonna look at your feet, make sure their inner hips width apart. It's about 3 to 4 inches apart. Then bend both knees quite a bit, about halfway towards the floor. Widen your knees as wide as your feet. Okay, look at your knees, keep them in line with your feet, especially when you stretch your arms straight. Get your thighs to plug up into their hip sockets and create a lift in your low back. Okay, only so much as you can keep that lift in your low back. You can straighten your legs out as straight as they'll go. And inhale, plank pose. Exhale, lower down for low plank. Okay, hips to the mat for Cobra. Point your feet. Flatten your hands as you come up. Exhale, down dog. Tuck your toes and lift your hips. And inhale, come to the balls of your feet. Exhale, bend your knees, look through your hands, and step or walk to the top of your mat. Feet hips width apart. Inhale, lift halfway up. And exhale, fold. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, bow forward all the way in. Touch the floor in front of you. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, hands to the mat. Plank pose, step back. Wrists under the shoulders, legs straight for low plank. Inhale, Cobra, pull your low back long as you come up. And exhale, down dog. And inhale, reach your right leg straight back, one-legged dog. And stack your hips like half moon. Okay, so your right toes point towards the wall of your right. Do this with a straight leg. Flex your right foot. Okay, look under your left arm. Lift your left shoulder up, even with your right. And exhale. Step your right foot to the outside of your right hand for lunge. Okay, way out towards the outside of the right hand. And bring your hands forward and wide like goalposts. Okay, so this right hand goes clear in front of your right foot and slightly wide of your right foot. Okay, right heel roots, right heel heavy. To scissor square your right hip back. Okay, so far as your right knee points the same direction as your foot, you can settle in onto your forearms. Okay, come on up. And step back. For second side, reach your left leg up and stack your hips like half moon. Flex your left foot and look under your right arm and lift your right shoulder up even with your left. And exhale, swing your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Okay, make sure your knee's right over your ankle. Back foot's vertical, power up the back leg. Okay, keep that left knee bent deeply. Widen your left knee to point over your left foot. And so far as you can keep that alignment, you can bend your elbows deeply. Eventually come onto the forearms. Okay, come on up. And step back for dog. Okay, and inhale, right foot around your right hand for low lunge. Okay, low lunge. Hands to the inside of your right foot. Angle your right knee to the right at a diagonal. And point your right knee the same direction as your foot. So far as you can keep that alignment, just like your last lunge. Give it a few breaths for your hips to open. And take this in steps, eventually forearms to the floor. Okay, just not at the expense of that right knee turning in. You can either point or flex the back foot, whichever feels better on your knee. I like pointed. It's just a little more stretch. Okay. Okay, and come on up. Step back. Switch sides. Inhale, left foot to the outside of your left hand. Lower your back knee super gently. You can pat up that knee if you need. Turn your left foot out to the left at a diagonal. Okay, widen your left knee the same direction as your foot. And give it a few breaths. Your hips open, left heel roots. To scissor square your left hip back to get a deeper hip opener. If you're pointing your back foot, just make sure you drag your back knee forward on the floor enough to feel a little lift in your right hip, so you're not collapsing into that hip flexor. Okay, come on up. Step it back for a dog. Inhale, come to the balls of your feet. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward, and step or hop to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway up, hands on your hips, come up and stand. Okay, feet hips width apart. Bend your knees deeply, like a downhill skier. Okay, you're gonna shift weight into your left foot. Rest your right shin across your left thigh for a figure four. You bend your left knee deeply. Create a shelf for your shin. Left hand against the right sole of your foot to remind it to flex. Okay, that'll protect your knee as you sit heavy. Okay, and second side, weight in the right foot. Left shin across your right thigh for a figure four. Okay, most importantly, flex the right foot. Okay, how you engage that right, or the left foot. How you engage that foot will govern the sensation in your knee. So it's more of a hip opener rather than a knee opener. Okay, and step down. And take a wide stance, step your left foot way back. Okay, wide stance, just measure out when you reach your arms out. Your ankles will be underneath your wrists. Turn your right foot to the front, bend your right knee deeply, warrior two. And side angle pose, right elbow on your right thigh, left arm by your ear. Square your hips towards the wall to your left. To turn your chest open. Okay, so far as you can keep your chest lifted, your hips square to the left. You touch down to the outside of your right foot, the floor or a block. Okay, and come on up, warrior two. Straighten your right leg, right foot in, left foot out. Bend your left knee deeply, warrior two. Okay, and side angle pose, left forearm on your left thigh, right arm by your ear. Okay, square your hips towards the wall to your right, the wall you're facing. Chest turns open, so much as you can keep that alignment. You touch down for the full pose, left hand to the outside of your left foot today. Widen your left knee left, turn your chest open. Whew, come on up. Turn both feet towards the wide edge of your mat, bow down the middle. Make sure your feet are even and straight. Bend your knees enough to touch. Okay, then lift halfway up. Turn your right foot to the front. Frame out to your right foot with your hands like a lunge. Step back, down dog. Inhale, plank. Legs straight for low plank. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. And right knee forward for pigeon. Pigeon, right knee all the way to the right edge of your mat. Square your hips. One of your forearms. Allow your hips to sit back and heavy towards the floor. As long as your hips stay square, you can start to slide your back leg further back. Just so long as your hips don't roll to the right. And reach your right hand back for your left foot for a quad stretch. Okay, you can get taller. You can hop up onto the left hand if you need to reach the foot. As your quad starts to open, you can come on your left forearm. Draw your heel towards your left outer hip. Engage your left foot to tip your hip up towards your heel. And inhale, release, and step back. And switch sides, left knee wide all the way to that left edge of your mat. Square your hips, come onto your forearms. Allow your hips to sit back and heavy towards the floor. So yeah, this could shift even in the duration of a pose. Your hips could start to open. Here's how you know you've hit your limit, is if your hips start to roll to the left. Okay, reach your left hand for your right foot. Quad stretch. You can hold either side of the foot. Draw your heel in, engage your back foot. And inhale, release, step back, down dog. And lower down to sit. Swing your legs out in front of you. Okay, feet point up, knees point up. Okay, and take your left hand to your left outer edge of foot. It's okay to bend your knee to get the foot and pick up your foot. Draw it back. Flex your left foot, draw your shin in, and wrap your right arm around your left foot for a baby cradle. Flex your left foot. That's most important to get a hip opener. Okay, and if you can't quite get the foot into the elbow crease, you can just hold the leg. You can even bend your right knee and prop up the shin. Okay, just flex the foot to get a hip opener. Okay, and stretch your left leg out and pick up your right foot. Like a bow and arrow, draw it back. Press the foot against the hand, hand against your foot to keep a lift in your back. And draw your shin in and wrangle your foot with your left arm. So your right foot's in the left elbow crease. You ought to be able to see a side profile of your right foot. And that'll protect your knee. So you move into the hip opener. Again, if that's a bit much, you could hold it any way you need. Prop it up so far as you flex the foot. Okay, and release. Bend both knees. Place your feet, ankles underneath your knees, feet hips width apart. Hands behind you. Rotate your hands towards the side walls. Lift your chest, broaden your chest. Root your heels down, lift your hips up. Heels heavy, knees forward, hips high. Look back. Okay, and lower down and stretch your right leg out. Bend your left knee in. Okay, and twist to your right. Reach your left hand for your right foot or shin, whatever you could get. Okay, so long as you root this right leg down and use your right hand to tip your weight heavy in your left hip. Okay, come on up. And second side, left leg out, right knee in. For Janu, Shirsasana, twist to the left. To your right hand for your left foot, shin or thigh. Just root that left leg down, tip your weight more on your right hip as you twist left and fold. Okay, come on up, bend. Both knees in, soles of your feet touch. And hands behind you, knees wide. Inner edges of the feet apart. Okay, think knees go apart and they'll start to go down. Inner edges of the feet apart, flick your toes up. Okay, you never want to force your knees down. Okay, more so knees apart. Okay, if your knees are even or below your hips, you can bow forward, hands to the inner edges of your feet. Okay, if your knees are above your hips, stay upright to protect your hip flexors. Baddha Konasana. Okay, and hold corresponding hand to knee. Close your legs gently. Hope you had fun with hip openers. I'm Jake. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.